everybody, and welcome back to the Star Wars Expanded Universe, narrated by Disney, or Chrome Lucasfilm, whichever way you slice it, Legends. I am wearing the same shirt, because it's the same day, because all I have for you today, very short, 2 comics. Well, 3 comics from one series and 4 comics from another little mini-series, which is a General Grievous 4-issue comic, and also returning back to the Republic comics with issues 69 to 71, Dreadnoughts of Rendelli. So the General Grievous comic, the art is okay. It kind of reminds me of the art from like Tales of the Jedi, like they purposely went to go look like that. I mean, Count Dooku's cool. Not Count Dooku, sorry. General Grievous is cool. He does some stuff in here. He's not as cool as he was in the 03 show. He's not as cool. I mean, he's cooler than he is in the 08 show, I'll give you that. But it's 4 issues. Rogue Jedi decide that enough is enough. Enough Jedi have died because of General Grievous. So they go to assassinate General Grievous. Obviously, General Grievous is in episode 3, so it probably is not going to end too well for the people going after him. But overall, they were a decent 4 issues. It did show the menace of General Grievous, which was always very cool to see. And overall, it's very decent. If you have the Epic Collection, Volume 3, you will have this story within it. But overall, nothing really to say. The only other one, this is, again, really short video, is the 3 issues in the Republic comics that deal with Quinlan Vos again. Quinlan Vos meets up with Obi-Wan, and for the first 2 issues, they're kind of, working together. Seemingly, Quinlan Vos is on the good side, as he always has been, and goes to redeem himself. Meanwhile, we also have Anakin around, and Plo Koon, and that other dude with long horns, I forget his name. Anakin is now sporting the long hair that he does in episode 3. However, he does not have the signature scar that he has in the 08 show, or the second season of 03 Clone Wars, or anything like that. That hasn't happened yet, though it does happen within these comics. Then, of course, we get to the final issue, where Quinlan is recounting his tales to the Jedi Council to see if he will be forgiven, while Anakin is viewing a message from Padme when, what do you know, Ventress makes an appearance and a fight ensues. All I'll say is that fight may give you an explanation as to the little scar that Anakin has on his face for the remainder of the Clone Wars. Again, this is probably going to be my shortest video ever, unless I add this to Yoda Dark Rendezvous, which I might do. If I do, then that will be that. But overall, it was absolutely fantastic. These were all really good issues. I really enjoyed reading them. And I'm really excited to continue moving forward in the Star Wars Expanded Universe. Of course, we're heading very, 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 very close to the Filoni show, which is going to be a whole warble of conflicting emotions. But until then, guys, either this is only the first half, and we will discuss Dark Rendezvous, or this will be its own video by itself. But seeing it's only 4 minutes, I may just add this on to the Dark Rendezvous review. But anyway, guys, catch you in the next video, or in the next second, if it's a part of Dark Rendezvous. Peace. Hello, everybody. Now, I realized that the other video was a bit short, so I'm just going to include this in that video, so no intro exactly. But for this second half of the video, it is of course a different day. I'm wearing my glasses. We are going to be discussing Yoda Dark Rendezvous by Sean Stewart. Of course, we got to get the big thing out of the way first. This book was an anomaly because George Lucas was very against any story revolving around Yoda. The way this book kind of gets around that is that we focus on other characters, but Yoda is around. We never get to really be inside Yoda's head. It's always from somebody else's perspective. Therefore, not exactly breaking anything. And the only things we learn about Yoda's past go so far back as, like, Dooku's past. We don't get far into Yoda's past. It doesn't really affect what George wanted for it. But the big thing is that there's another book. I think it was by William C. Ditz. I forget who was supposed to be writing it. But there was supposed to be another book titled Escape from Dagu, which would have focused on Shakti and some other guy. I kind of forget the details. But that was supposed to be a book that came out. But since George Lucas approved Yoda Dark Rendezvous, when you have a book that focuses primarily on Yoda and Dooku, everything else gets put to the wayside. I mean, and ultimately it's probably for the better. I mean, I don't know how good that book would have been. Maybe it would have been, like, amazing. Who knows? But having to choose between the two, I would rather have Yoda Dark Rendezvous. However, if I could have had both, that would have been awesome too. Hashtag give us freaking Escape from Dagu someday. But overall, without getting into spoilers, this book was incredible. At least in comparison to everything I've read in the Clone Wars so far. Every Clone Wars book I've read so far has either been... they're pretty much all just... they're okay. I haven't enjoyed a novel, or like really loved a novel. Sorry if you can hear that. I'm in the garage at the moment. I haven't enjoyed and like really enjoyed a novel in a while. Like I remember Approaching Storm was the last book prior to episode 2, and then every book afterwards, at least an adult novel, not like young adult novel, has been it's been fine. The comics have been where it's at. The comics have been absolutely astounding when it comes to the Star Wars stuff, but not the novels. They've been okay. But this one, now I haven't read MedStar yet, which I hear is probably the best within the Star Wars: The Clone Wars novels. That and Republic Commando, though that's 50-50 with fans, because you have fans who like really love Republic Commando, and those who really despise it, depending on the fan. But I haven't read those yet. So as far as I know so far, Yoda Dark Rendezvous is really good. In fact, it wouldn't be in the top 10. At least I don't think so. But it might be in the top 20. Like, it's a really good book. I really enjoyed this one. I'm sorry about that. I'm not a professional YouTuber. So, yeah. The plot of the book essentially is that Dooku asks for Yoda to meet him because he wants to negotiate peace. Is there going to be peace? No, because, the events of the Clone Wars TV show, the episode 3, peace is not going to happen by the end of this book. However, the things they do with it in here are really good. The things we get implied with Yoda are really interesting, and the moments we get from Dooku are really amazing. And even with the new characters we're introduced to, like the new Padawans and stuff, even their stories are really actually pretty interesting. Like, there's not a single thing in here that's boring to me. Like, there's other books I was like, oh, this is still going. Like, Jedi Trial was like 50-50. Some of it I was really engaged. Other parts I was like, this is kind of boring. Even more so when it came to Cestus Deception. But this one, like, I think the kids are probably the weakest part of the book because Yoda and Dooku, but still, they're like, I could have read a book with just them, or maybe a short story. But since they're not the entire part of the book, it works. You have the kids, you have Yoda, you have, I mean, Anakin and Obi-Wan show up, but they're like not even side characters. They're like cameos essentially. Like, they're barely in this book, so don't expect it to be like a Obi-Wan and Anakin story. It's very much not. Some of the things discussed in here were very interesting, and in fact, this book probably gave me the best perspective on Yoda than anything else. I'm saying more, at least prequel era Yoda. I think this gave me the best representation of what he is, or what he's like, than any of the movies did. I mean, of course, the original trilogy. I'm not discussing that. I'm talking purely like prequel Yoda. I think this is the best portrayal of him that we have. And I highly recommend this one. Like, if you read nothing else, in the Clone Wars timeline, for novels at least. I think you should read this one. I think this one is really, really good. I mean, at least for Legends continuity, this is the most we probably get out of Dooku, too. I mean, we have like the huge excerpt in episode 3 before he dies in the novelization. You know, there's a little bit of him in Labyrinth of Evil, but like this is probably the most we get with him, and it's really, really good. I know there's a canon book, Dooku Lost or whatever. I can't speak to the quality of that or how good the story is or how much Dooku's in it because I don't read that. But if you are into canon, that's something you might want to look into. I don't know. But as far as Legends go, this is probably the most we get from him. So I think all I'll say is that this is an absolutely fantastic read. I really, really enjoyed it. It's one of the better books. Um, do I think it's like a great, perfect, fantastic novel in comparison to other things in expanded universe? Not really, but I do think it's a really good read. I think it's a very good book, like a solid. I don't do like ratings, but like if it was a movie or something, I give it like a 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10 maybe, depending on how I'm feeling at the time. But definitely, 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 definitely worth your time. If you don't want spoilers, or you don't care about spoilers, or you're a veteran, then you can come on. If you don't, time for you to leave. All right. Final warning: I'm gonna get into spoilers if you don't want it. There you go. We begin with a 60-year flashback, which is really cool. It's Dooku young talking to um, Yoda. What I love about this is it helps establish their relationship while also not going super deep into Yoda's thought process and everything. And also because we don't have that much of Dooku's past. We hear a bit about stuff, but we don't get to see it. So it was really nice to see that stuff. There's also an excellent conversation between Ventress and Dooku earlier on in this book about, I think it was about Ventress wanting to become his apprentice, which is really interesting because the way it works in my timeline is this is all happening before Filoni's Clone Wars, so none of the betrayals or anything or Savage have happened yet. Also, Dooku is 83 years old. I mean, he's doing well for somebody that age, and I just thought I'd mention that because he is old. Much later on in the book, there is this thing that one of the new Jedi we get introduced to says to one of the Padawans, which is, feelings aren't wrong, it's the choice. I thought this was really interesting. I know not all the Jedi think this way, you know. This guy was kind of thinking outside the box here. Because it is in the same way, a lot of way with like my Christian faith. I'm not going to get into details about what I mean exactly by that, but there are certain things the Bible talks about being wrong, but feelings themselves are not wrong. It's the actions you take with those feelings, and it's as far as I'll go for controversy there. Those who are Christian probably know what I'm talking about, but it's not as bigoted and hateful as some people would make it out to be. I mean, bigoted these days just means you don't agree with me, which is stupid. But anyway, I thought that was really compelling. The idea that, you know, feelings that you have are not wrong, you know, because it's only natural. Everybody has feelings. It's what you do with those feelings that determines who you are. And I thought that was a really interesting perspective. Ventress goes on this whole spiel at some point about the dark side being the truth, which I thought was really interesting. This, on one hand, she says a lot of good points, but on the other hand, she's a murderer who likes to kill people for sport and counts her victims. I get what she's saying, but at the same time, it's so clear that the dark side can't be the truth because so many people suffer and die because of it. I think she's right that the political system that the Jedi are entrenched in this time period is flawed, is corrupted. But I do not think that the light side itself is corrupted. You know, as George always said, you know, the light side is how it should be. And again, everything back with Yoda and everything back with this, I think Yoda would have been very proud, especially after his humbling, after his realizing of how corrupt, you know, the Jedi Order had become because of its obedience to the government. I think he would have been really proud of what Luke accomplished, especially when we get into more of the things discussed with Yoda. Offending Yoda. One of the Padawans says, like, what do you care? We get it. You're 900 years old, or 800, or whatever age he is, old. It's easy for you to be detached from everybody else. You don't understand loss. You don't feel it like the rest of us do because you've been so detached from the rest of us. But that's not true. Yoda says, you think you know loss? You think I've never dealt with it? You think I've never felt the anger and rage that you've all felt? Which just makes you go with implications there. We will never know, at least in Legends. Canon might dive into it, which would be really stupid. Legends is only ever give you implications, possibilities, implying what Yoda's backstory entails. But him saying, I do understand the dark. That you think I've never experienced the dark. Seems to me that perhaps Yoda did struggle with that at some point in his life, overcame it, became stronger for it. Yoda cares deeply for every single person. And that's one of the things I love about Yoda, is it doesn't matter how small in the grand scheme of things you are in the Jedi Temple. That is his family. He's basically the father to every single person in the Order. He cares about them parentally. Kind of like, if you want to make like a biblical parallel, he's very much like God in the sense that all the Jedi are his children, and he cares deeply for each and every one of them. He may not exactly show it how you would expect, but he does. Only thing is, he doesn't let his anger overcome him. Which again is why I say, I never think that Yoda was exactly wrong in the prequels. The issue with Yoda is that he allowed his order to be corrupted by politics. It's not that his ideals, his teachings, are inherently wrong. I think some of the Jedi in there were inherently wrong with how they viewed things. Some of them did take it as, well, attachment is wrong. And I think to some extent, even Yoda falls into that, but he understands that people will have that feeling. And he does care deeply for people. He just does not allow it to overcome his logic, I guess, and his duty to the Force itself. But the politics, the government, the corruption, Luke tried for a long time to keep his order outside of that. Eventually, stuff did get muddled because politics, they try to enforce themselves on the Jedi. But still, Yoda got too comfortable with allowing politics to affect Jedi decisions. And that's my biggest issue with Yoda. But this book gave me the best representation of how Yoda actually feels and what he's actually like. Such a wise and amazing man. Also, if Yoda ever fell. Near the end of this book was absolutely incredible. We have this whole dialogue between Yoda and Dooku. And Yoda says, there's two ways to end this conflict. You come back to the light side, Dooku. You come with me. And maybe you'll be forgiven, maybe you won't. Come with me and change your ways. Or convince me that the dark side is the right path. And as Dooku tries to give excuses for why that's the path everyone should take, Yoda, like a good skeptic, questions and questions and questions, frustrating Dooku. And at one point, there's like lightning or something going on where Yoda's face becomes dark. And in that instant, Dooku has a kind of vision or something of what Yoda could be if he actually did choose the dark path. It kind of reminded me of the Gremlins movie, like Yoda turning into that, like turning into the evil ones after the water gets hit on the guy. But like the way to describe him is really scary. And like, if Yoda ever did succumb to the dark side, nobody, not even Darth Sidious, would be safe from Yoda's wrath. So be lucky that Yoda chooses the light over the dark, because nobody would be safe if Yoda succumbed. And the interesting thing too is, at least I took it, Obi-Wan and Anakin came to help. How'd they not come when they did? I think Yoda might have convinced Dooku. I think he might have. I think he was getting to him. Circumstances and stuff, though, as soon as those guys showed up, Dooku snapped out of whatever he was being reasoned into, and he got super angry and rejected everything that Yoda tried to help him with. As it has to happen because of Episode 3. But yeah, there are a lot of amazing discussions in this book, a lot of really interesting concepts. And I can understand. Matt Wilkins is wrong. Christopher Nelson is right. This book is fantastic. It's wonderful, and I really enjoyed reading it. And I highly, highly, highly recommend this one. So that's pretty much it, guys. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Sharing helps out a ton. Don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, guys. May the Force be with you.